Arjuna is really giving a clue to bhakti that we want to cultivate later here. Very early bhakti teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, before the Puranas and other texts that really teach us a lot of devotion and love and bhakti. Here he's saying, look, thinking of you as a friend, I said, oh Krishna, my friend, I was unaware of your greatness. And he's almost apologizing for having that friendly relationship with Krishna. And I really love that because, later in the bhakti teachings, we hear about and we feel that God is not just our master. God is our friend. God is our mother. God is our father. God is our child. God is our close acquaintance. That friendliness, whatever is best about the relationships of this world that we all have together with our friends and loved ones and family members, times that by 1,000, and that is God. That is the relationship, the essence of what we try to accentuate. Just like earlier in the Gita where Krishna says, of bodies of water, I am the ocean. So the closeness and the love and the friendship and the playfulness that we have with our friends, imagine that playfulness with us and our friends being exemplified in our relationship with God. Krishna will share that as a form of bhakti. And perhaps because not Arjuna's apologizing for it, but maybe it's because of that love that Arjuna gave to Krishna that he actually gave that love and friendship and that awareness back to Arjuna. Much love to all of you. I'm just going to try and change my view so I can see you all. Gallery. Okay, wonderful. Hope you're all doing good, all well. I'm currently in Sardinia, in Italy, on this beautiful island, and just really stunned by the beauty of the nature here. And the views are just incredible. The islands, the nature, it's just such a wonderful healing place. And because of that, I thought we'll start with some prayers that are often spoken here in Italy. Well, I'll read them in English, but obviously something of St. Francis, who is also very dear to us. But first, we can start with the Serenity Prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And this is from St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is faith, where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. That's beautiful. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. I often say to team members at Go Dharmic, obviously everybody is attracted to enjoy and eat prasad, but I say, hey, let us not be here to eat prasad, but to serve prasad. Very quickly, we see delicious food on the table and we think, okay, let me go and eat. But we should remember that we want to serve prasad, not eat prasad. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive, for it is in giving that we receive, in pardoning that we are pardoned, in dying that we are born to eternal life. So we are in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to make a slight departure from normal weeks where I've been reading from Shukavak, but this week I'm going to be using, because it's the copy I have with me, Dr. Nicholas Sutton's Bhagavad Gita. Again, the Sanskrit is always the same, but the English has some slight variation. If anything, Dr. Sutton's is slightly more academic in his translation, but this will be the last session where we finish chapter 11 and then we go into love. So the last section of the Gita, where the main theme is love. And chapter 12, I purposefully didn't want to do it in this session because I think it's an extraordinary chapter. And for those of you who wish, it's the easiest chapter of the Bhagavad Gita to memorize entirely. So if we have any brave souls out there that want to memorize a chapter of the Gita, only 20 verses, half of the length of the Hanuman Chalisa. Very easy to memorize chapter 12 of the Gita and plant it on your heart. So if anybody's up for a challenge, 20 verses to memorize, it's a very beautiful, it's Bhakti Yoga, the chapter of love and devotion. And we'll get into that from next week. But maybe that's a challenge out there for anybody that's interested and wants to memorize. One of my Sanskrit teachers, Nandaji, he said when I told him I want to memorize verses from the Gita, he immediately told me, memorize chapter 12 first. So you get that confidence that, yes, I can get a chunk of this done. It's the easy part. And then you can go for longer parts. But always the first verse is always nice, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. But chapter 12 is planted within my heart. I can say that. Okay, so coming back to where we are, as every week I go back a little bit to allow the ocean to ebb back and then we flow forward. In chapter 11, Arjuna wanted to see Krishna's form. He said, Krishna, I understand what you're teaching me, but now show me the form. Show me your true nature. And then what do we have? Arjuna becomes horrified. He sees every living being, every person that's being killed, every warrior that's about to be killed, everyone that died in the past, every living being going in and out of the mouth and just all of existence. Imagine seeing every person that died today in the world dying and just seeing all of that in front of you and all of the boundlessness of good and bad transcended. And then that can really throw up a lot of fear, obviously the visual part, but it also throws up something very interesting around free will. Because if Krishna is doing everything, if God is doing everything, then what are we doing? Are we just playing out God's will and desire, or do we have any free will? Am I here doing this Gita talk because God wants me to do it? Or am I choosing to do it? Where's the free will? Because Arjuna's just seen everything. He's seeing the warriors dying. He's seeing all the outcomes and everything that's going to happen just within Krishna. So you have that interesting predicament which is arising in chapter 11, where God has shown Arjuna that everything is happening because of me. And what Dr. Sutton talks about on these verses is that we have to remember that this is a very particular instant where God has taken an avatar as Krishna and is giving a teaching in that message. So it's not always that everything is completely down to the allowance of that divine will over free will. But I think there's a beautiful teaching in the Mahabharata where Bhishma, the teacher of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, the great teacher, Bhishma, is lying on a bed of arrows. And Yudhishthir, Arjuna's brother, asks him, is this all free will? Or is it divine? Is it ordained? Or do I have a choice here? And Bhishma's answer I've always loved. He said, the question is wrong. He says, imagine a coin, and on one side of the coin is free will, and on the other side of the coin is divinely ordained. Both are happening at exactly the same moment. So that's a really beautiful way. And the way he describes it is, imagine you're a farmer and you have a field. Now, grace can come as rain. But if you don't plant the seeds, then no matter how much grace you have, you won't get the fruits. You won't get the crops. But if you plant the seeds and it rains, then things come together perfectly. But if you don't plant the seeds, then grace cannot even help you. And Siddhima was once asked by Krishna Das, Ma, is this all just Maharaji doing it? Is it all just divine? Like, is it just happening like that? And she said, yes, he's doing everything because we are bhakti, we're devotional, we're lovers of God. We want to try and. He said, yes, you have. Maharaj is doing everything, but you have to pretend like he's not. Like God is doing everything, the divine is doing everything, but just pretend like he's not. Just do the best you can. Just do the best service you can. Do the best devotion you can. Say the best praise you can. Love everyone the best you can. And so, yeah, really, really thoughtful moment to pause in 11th chapter, and especially as we're about to head towards more bhakti, more devotion, and explore that idea fully. After Krishna has explained everything to Arjuna, in verse 35, he brings his hands together, his palms together, and pays respects to Krishna. And he is bowing down, respecting Krishna, and he's trembling with fear. And he addresses Krishna still while he's stuttering, bowing down in a mood of awe and fear. Arjuna said, the world is delighted by your glorification and becomes joyful, whilst the terrified Rakshasas flee in every direction. Rakshas is like a demonic being, or, those who are covered in negative qualities, considered Rakshas, flee in various directions. The hosts of perfect beings, the Mahatmas, bow down before you. Why should they not? You are greater even than Brahma, the creator of the universe. You are unlimited, Lord of the gods, the abode of the world. You are Aksharam. Aksharam means that which never decays, boundless. You are being and non-being, and that which lies beyond both. Quite interesting description in that 37th verse. You are being and non-being, and that which transcends both. You are the original Lord, the primeval Purusha. Purusha means being, the life force. You are the ultimate resting place of this entire world. You are the knower that is which to be known. You are the knower and that which is to be known. The supreme, the abode, this entire world is pervaded by you, O limitless form. You are Vayu. You are Yama. Vayu is the wind. You are Yama, the god of death. You are Agni, the eternal fire. You are Varuna. You are the moon. You are Prajapati. You are the greatest ancestor. I bow to you, Krishna. I bow to you 1,000 times. I bow to you. I bow to you. And then I bow to you once again. So the type of verses that we have in 38 and 39, I look at that like Vedic verses. They look like Vedic verses. The Vedic prayers, Tvam Vayu, Tvam Agni, Tvam Varuna, when he's reciting this prayer to Krishna at this moment, these are very similar to the verses in the Vedas, the ancient Vedas, 5,000, 6,000 years old Vedas, are praying in that way. So Arjuna is reciting a Vedic prayer to Krishna. But I bow to you from the front. I bow to you from behind. I bow to you from all sides, for you are everything. Your power is unlimited. Your might cannot be measured. It is you alone who reach into all things, and therefore you are that which is all things. You are that which is all things. The immanence and transcendence of Krishna being really reflected upon by Arjuna. And if there was one thing that arises for me is Maharaji's words when he says, better to see God everywhere than try to figure it out. God is everywhere, in every living being, in every place, in every cell of the universe. Now this is interesting. Thinking of you as a friend, I presumptuously saying, "O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, I was unaware of your greatness, and I did this because I did not understand, or perhaps out of affection. Making jokes, I improperly acted towards you whilst we were passing time together, resting, sitting, or eating, sometimes when we were alone and sometimes when others were present. Oh, Achutya, now I beg for your forgiveness, for you are beyond all measure. Now, Arjuna is really giving a clue to bhakti that we want to cultivate later here. Very early bhakti teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, before the Puranas and other texts that really teach us a lot of devotion and love and bhakti. Here he's saying, look, thinking of you as a friend, I said, oh, Krishna, my friend, I was unaware of your greatness. And he's almost apologizing for having that friendly relationship with Krishna. And I really love that because, later in the bhakti teachings, we hear about and we feel that God is not just our master. God is our friend. God is our mother. God is our father. God is our child. God is our close acquaintance. That friendliness, that whatever is best about the relationships of this world that we all have together with our friends and loved ones and family members, times that by 1,000, and that is God. That is the relationship, the essence of what we try to accentuate. Just like earlier in the Gita, where Krishna says, of bodies of water, I am the ocean. So the closeness and the love and the friendship and the playfulness that we have with our friends, imagine that playfulness with us and our friends being exemplified in our relationship with God. Krishna will share that as a form of bhakti. And perhaps because not Arjuna's apologizing for it, but maybe it's because of that love that Arjuna gave to Krishna that he actually gave that love and friendship and that awareness back to Arjuna. I beg you, Krishna, for forgiveness, for you are beyond all measure. You are the Father of the moving and non-moving beings. You are the object of worship for the world, and you are the greatest teacher. No one is your equal, so how could anyone in the three worlds be greater than you? Your power is unrivaled. Therefore, I bow down to you, Krishna, and prostrate my body. Prostration, lying in full. We call it Danda Pranam. So for those of you who have been to India or been acquainted with Hinduism or Hindu families or people, there's this habit of touching people's feet, like a very honorific way of doing such a thing. And Ram Dass speaks about this extensively, very beautifully, in fact, this whole thing, because that's the last thing we in the West would ever consider doing, right? Like touching somebody's feet is like, oh, why would I touch your feet? But it's quite, I feel, a very humble humbling and honorific way of putting it all out there. And you see young children touching their parents' feet, even before going to school, or when they meet their grandparents or an elder, they would touch their grandparents' feet, or a saintly person or elder, or just out of a lot of respect. And I think it places the ego, the body, the mind, and everything at the feet of the person in front of you, and really treating that person with a lot of respect. And when one is in the temple or in front of a saintly person, a very respectful thing is to touch somebody's feet. Now, there are ways of doing it where the first level is you just kind of reaching out one hand and you kind of symbolically just touch the feet, and then maybe touch your hand on your heart. So that's like kind of just a quick respect, like I'm showing it, but I'm just visually doing it. Then there's the other next one where you could actually bow down on the knees and prostrate in front of a person, or at the temple where you're on bended knees and you bow and you touch your head down on the ground. Then imagine when people met Neem Karoli Baba or in his presence, they're just fully prostrated, arms stretched out, lying on the floor, maybe crying at the same time, and just grabbing onto his feet as if they are the rope that will take you beyond the ocean of samsara, and be the boat by which you cross that thing. And I remember Ram Dass talking about this when he first went to India with Bhagavad Das, and he was there in Kenchi, kind of not really wanting to be there, and when he saw Bhagavad Das sprinting towards Maharaji, diving along the floor, face and body covered in dust, and he's just wailing tears and crying, and he's saying, "Oh Maharaji," and he's full length danda pranam across the floor. And Ram Dass is thinking, "Oh my God, this is the last thing I ever want to do." And then he beautifully writes in Be Here Now about it was the last thing that he ever wanted to do as a Harvard professor, but a few hours later, it was the only thing he wanted to do in his entire life. Like, that's all he wanted to do. And so it's very sweet, that interaction. But here we have Arjuna, full length across the floor in front of Krishna, begging forgiveness for his mistakes, but also in pranam. I bow down to you and prostrate my body. I seek your grace, for you are the worshipful Lord. This is also a beautiful thing to do in the temple. And when we treat the deities as living embodiment of the Lord, to be able to prostrate in that way. I seek your grace, for you are the worshipful Lord. Please tolerate all of my conduct. O Lord, as a father to a son, a friend to a friend, or a lover to a lover. I was thrilled to see this form that was never previously seen, but my mind is disturbed by fear. Now show me that other form, Lord. Show me mercy, O Lord, of the gods, abode of the world. I now wish to see you with a crown, a club, a disc in hand. O thousand-armed one, O Vishvamurti, please assume once more your four-armed form. So Arjuna's completely overwhelmed with that vision of the Vishvarupa, the full form of the deity, full form of Krishna, which is divinity itself. Like what the Gita is describing is all forms, like that transcending existence of God, which is, imagine every form of every religion in the world coming into one form and just being present. And now he's asking to see Vishnu, the natural form of Vishnu, which is Ram and Krishna and Narasingha and all the deities. Krishna replies, "It was an act of grace, Arjuna, that I displayed the supreme form to you by means of my own powers of yoga." That form, the form of God, is filled with energy. It is sanatana, universal. So the first one is that divinity is energetic. We're getting that. The second one is that it's universal, sanatana, all directions, all places. It is unlimited, and it is ancient beyond ancient. Now, Krishna explains that I have never displayed it to anyone but yourself. So Krishna is saying here that Arjuna is the first one to see the Vishvarupa, the first living being to see that. And perhaps it's his closeness, perhaps it's the moment, perhaps it's a teaching for all of humanity and the world to be able to tap into that sacred moment, and why the Bhagavad Gita has held so much importance as a sacred text for all of us, because through Arjuna's vision, we also see it. I have not shown it through the Veda, through yajna, which is the fire sacrifice or a sacrificial offering, through recitation of mantras, through charity, through ritual, through harsh austerities. I cannot be seen in this form by anyone other than you in the world of men, O hero of the Kurus. Do not tremble with fear, and do not be bewildered after seeing this form of mine, which is so fearful. Let your fears be dispelled, and let your mind be contented. Now, once more, hold that form of mine. After speaking to Arjuna in this way, Krishna once again reveals his own form. That great soul, consoled the frightened Arjuna by again assuming his benign form. So Krishna is accepting Arjuna's request to take away that frightening form of all of existence, all of death and all of life before him, and come back to the benign form. Arjuna says, seeing this benign human form of yours, my mind is now at peace, and I have regained my normal condition. So his heart is stopping beating. He's relaxing now. He's come back. Imagine just seeing God in all the fullness of that realization, God realization, and then coming back. Krishna said, calm down, relax. Everything is okay. I'm back here. It's very hard to gain this vision of the form that you have seen. Even the gods are always longing for this vision. Not through the Vedas, austerity, charity, sacrificial offering. Sorry, just one second. Not through the Vedas, not through the Vedas, austerity, charity, or sacrificial offerings, is it possible to see me in the way that you have seen me here. The first clue, chapter 11, verse 54 of where we're going to here. Only through unalloyed devotion, Arjuna, is it possible to know me and see me in this form, and indeed to enter into me. It's, I think, really important here to see this as a sign of what's to come. as we enter the final verses. Bhakti is the key to God. If you want knowledge of God, it's only going to come through love. No other way. And Arjuna loves Krishna. I may have told this story before, but the Mahabharata, the scene before the war, there are two main protagonists before the war. One is Arjuna, and on the Kauravas side, maybe some of you know, his name is Duryodhana. So Duryodhana is the one who's causing all of the muck and mess of this war. But Krishna, being God, being fair, is equal to all. I am equal to all living beings. He says that, right, in the Gita. So we know he has to give that. And basically, just before the war is about to happen, first, Krishna actually travels to Duryodhana to try and plead with him not to go through with this. He says to him, don't do this war. Just give them a tiny piece of land and let them live peacefully, and the Pandavas will be good. And Duryodhana says to Krishna, I won't give them land, even the size of a needle, like the pin of a needle. I won't give them that much land. And then at that point, Krishna realizes that, look, whatever is to be here. And it's very interesting that both Duryodhana and Krishna travel to both Duryodhana and Arjuna travel to Krishna before the war starts. Because Krishna said, whoever comes to me first, I will let them ask me to be on their side in the war. So just imagine, like, he's neutral because it was just before the war and both of them had to pick all of the people that were going to be on their side. Imagine children picking a football team, which friends are going to be on their side. Can you hear me, guys? Am I there? Can anybody signal? Oh, yeah, great. So there was me just talking away. Okay, I'm just going to go back to where I think I lost you, where Arjuna and Arjuna and Duryodhana rushing to Krishna to try and get him on their side. And it's very interesting what happens. Krishna wants to be neutral to both, and he said, I will listen to whoever gets to me first. Like whoever chooses me first, that person I'll come to. Now it's interesting that as they both run into the room, Duryodhana gets there first. Duryodhana gets to God, to Krishna first. And Duryodhana says, he stands by Krishna's feet. So Krishna's lying in bed and he's sleeping. And Duryodhana goes straight to Krishna's head. So he goes to the head. And then Arjuna comes into the room just after, and he comes to Krishna's feet. Very interesting. So Duryodhana standing next by Krishna's head, equal. And Arjuna walks in humbly and stands next to Krishna's feet. So as Krishna wakes up, he sees Arjuna first. Okay? And so the one is approaching Krishna humbly at the feet, bowing down, is seen first. And Duryodhana is trying to be equal to God, trying to be at the head, be the all-powerful one. And then Krishna asks Arjuna first, what do you want? You can have me, or you can have my entire army of tens of thousands of people. What do you want? And Duryodhana becomes furious. This is not fair. I got here first. I deserve to win. It's my ego. This is me. And he just assumes that Arjuna is going to choose the army. Who wouldn't? Tens of thousands of foot soldiers, trained army men. And Krishna said, you can have me, but I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to be a charity. I'm just going to sit there and maybe give you some advice. And Arjuna chooses Krishna to be on his side. And for me, this is like not just a story. This is religious scripture. This is sacred text. This is the essence of spirituality, all being transmitted through what happens here. Where are we in the life where we would choose Krishna versus the 10,000 soldiers, versus the power? There's a beautiful thing in the Ram Dass biography, the autobiography of Ram Dass, the last book that came out. And he talks about his time in India. He'd given up Harvard, he'd been with Maharaji, he spent all this time. But then there was a teacher by the name of Swami Muktananda. And Swami Muktananda said to Ram Dass, I want you to come on a big world tour with me. I'd like you to come on this world tour. And I want you to be my starter. So I'm going to give these big lectures to everybody, and there's going to be thousands of people listening, but you have to come out and speak before me. And we're going to go to Australia and to America and travel the world and UK and everywhere and go on this big world tour. And Ram Dass, in his Harvard mind, in his power play, he had the aeroplane, he had the money, he had the role at Harvard, he had everything there. And that woke up again when Muktananda offered him this thing. And then he said, in his heart, he wanted to do it, but then he thought, oh, I'm a devotee. Let me go ask Maharaji. And then so Ram Dass said, hey, Maharaji, I've had this offer of going on this huge world tour with Swami Muktananda. Do you think I should go? Well, of course, Maharaji already knew that Ram Dass had that desire to go. He had that desire. And Maharaji said, oh, I think you should go. It's going to be great for you. You're going to get all this exposure. You're going to get all of this stuff. And so Ram Dass said, I've had the Guru's blessings, I should go. And then he went on this tour and he experienced Muktananda's yogic powers. He met all of these audiences and he did this big tour. And then afterwards he came back and he said Muktananda had tremendous yogic powers. And in the book, the words he specifically says is, I realized that although Muktananda had these powers, what I really wanted was Maharaji's love. I realized that in the end, all I wanted was Maharaji's love. Arjuna just wants Krishna's love more than anything else in the world. And so I feel like the long way round of explaining that before we go into Bhakti is here in this special verses where Krishna is saying, not through the Vedas, not through recitation of Vedic mantras, not through any austerity, not through charity, not through sacrificial offerings, is it possible to see me in the way that you have seen me here. Only through undivided devotion, Arjuna, is it possible to know me and see me in this form, and indeed to enter into me. One who performs his deeds for me, regards me as the supreme, becomes my devotee, remains free of attachments, and has no hatred for any living being, that being will come to me. So when Krishna chooses Arjuna, or Arjuna chooses Krishna, however which way you want to look at it, he chooses the path of love over power. And Krishna says that one who performs everything he's doing for me, regards me as a supreme, and becomes a devotee who has bhakti, becomes free of all attachments and all hatred, hates no one, loves everyone. That being will come to me. It's quite unusual that from Vishvarupa we end with bhakti. That you have this like fear, awesomeness, and then we're ending with love. And in the next chapter, that is the end of the 11th chapter. And the next chapter will be Bhakti Yoga. But I think that it's interesting that we had Vishvarupa before Bhakti, where you have that universal form of awe and tremendousness, and that is there. And I kept this book on my table of Dada Vaswani. It's called Ecstasy and Experiences. And I just wanted to read a few things from Dada's book that are quite. He's an extraordinary being. He left the body, but a great sweetness in everything he used to say. In fact, if you watch some of his videos, there's hundreds of them on YouTube. Dada Vaswani. He's very, very sweet. He writes, "Let me narrate an incident which has touched my heart deeply. It's about a young girl of 19 who had an old ailing mother. This young girl finds a job in a rich man's house. Her job is to do chores like sweeping the floor, washing the utensils. She did this to earn enough to take care of her ailing mother. She had an intense desire to visit a temple, but she had no time. She reasons out thus: my temple is the house where I work. My shrine is the place I clean and look after. She calls out to the Lord, O God, all this work I do is my worship to you, and the place I worship is your temple. I felt sympathy for this girl. So moved was I by her attitude that I poeticized her words. O God of small things, everything I do is my devotion. Everywhere I work is my shrine. In mercy keep me, in mercy bind. Look at the devotion of this simple girl. She finds God in small acts of cleaning utensils, in washing the floors. She sees the Lord in beautiful rays of dawn, in the sunset hours of the twilight. She feels enriched, taking care of an old woman. She feels God in polishing the shoes, in the labor of sweeping the place. I think of this young girl as a Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman. For whatever she does, she feels the presence of God. She pleads to God to keep her as she is, in the same circumstances and under the same conditions, seeing happiness everywhere. May I find your love in the simple act of cooking. May I get a glance of you as I clean the vessels. May I rejoice in these simple acts of devotion and love. I surrender to you. My work is to you. And just to share one more of Dada Vaswani, a saint was working along the road. The road was lonely and the saint was alone. Out of the blue, shrill cries rent the air. Move away, for a leper is coming this way. In those days, a leper was considered to be an untouchable and an outcast. People did not want even to cross his shadow. But this saint hears the cries, and instead of moving away, goes closer to the leper and bows down to him. He pulls out a few rupees from his pocket and hands them to the leper. Please accept this, he says humbly. He then cleanses the wounds of the leper and gives him water to drink. And what does he say to him? You too are an image of God. What comforting words. This saint believed that service of the poor is worship of God. So that's chapter 11 completed. Thank you to everybody who's been on that journey up till now. You will be rewarded with sweetness going forward, because now it's a time for dessert of the Gita, the last remaining verses as we go into love. But I think we can end there with a short meditation, and next week we will. I'm very much looking forward to exploring chapter 12 with you. Thank you, everybody. Sending you all much love and happiness. We'll miss you all this week and see you next Wednesday for Bhakti Yoga. Ram Ram, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Much love.